Looking for a good movie to watch today? Well, I might just have it for you. We actually have a new movie that just released today. It's a harrowing indie thriller that I just got to see, and I'm going to tell you about right now. So let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be talking about a spoiler-free review of Pins and Needles. Yes, this is a new indie thriller that I got to check out that I think has a lot of potential, and I think the director, this is their first feature film, has a lot of potential too. So what is it all about? Well, Max, a diabetic biology student who is basically on a trip, has to go back to campus. She gets a ride there, which seems pretty innocuous at the time, but then they bump into some wellness experimental people who end up turning their trip into a nightmare. With her insulin supply running low, Max is forced into a life or death cat and mouse game to save her life. Now, this movie is directed by James Villeneuve, who actually, this is their first feature film, and I think it's pretty incredible work for their first feature film. They were a writer on Vicious Fun, which was actually a pretty fun movie, and I thought they did a really good job writing it. They are here to do this movie, and they actually wrote it as well. So it stars Chelsea Clark, who is the main girl, Max, who is the diabetic biology student, and who has to go through all this crazy stuff when they bump into some people who are doing a wellness experiment. And man, does it get pretty intense. Now, Chelsea Clark's character and the way that she treats this character, she does a really good job. There is a very nuanced performance because you get to meet her early on and she's one way and then she becomes another way over time. There are some realistic kind of situations that this girl gets into where she has to survive because her insulin, you know, if she doesn't get her insulin, she's a diabetic, she could make things a lot worse. So she's really forced into a lot of these situations because she's trying to find her insulin at this place where some bad stuff happened. And I don't want to spoil anything for you as far as, you know, what's going on and what she bumps into. But let's just say the people that she bumps into, they may be into wellness, but they're not well themselves. Chelsea Clark, if you may recognize her, she has actually been in Ginny in Georgia, and she was also in one of the movies that I got to see last year, which was Scared Shitless, which was a comedy that she was in as well. And she was like, I think the landlady or the land daughter or something in that movie. It's been a little while, so I immediately recognized her. And this is a completely different performance, much more serious. She's much more nuanced, and there is a lot going on in this one that she has to make her way through in this harrowing tale. And I think that diabetic thing that they add in here really just adds to the tension in pushing her into these situations that most people would not be a part of or not feel a risk worth taking. This is a person who's not exactly like the biggest person in the room, so she has to figure her way and navigate through some pretty messed up stuff. And there's more to the story as it sort of develops and goes on. You know, there isn't a lot of dialogue, surprisingly, which isn't, you know, a bad thing. It's just a lot of vibe and feel. It isn't a perfect movie. You know, I've seen other thrillers that can outpace this one a little bit, but I thought it was a lot of fun because they do some things in the movie that thrillers tend to do. There's always some sort of get back or some sort of like payback for whoever's involved, whether it be the protagonist or the antagonist. It is an indie film. It is taking place in essentially one location, and it really doesn't need a whole lot of money, so it relies on talent and skill and camera work. And speaking of camera work, these are some really great shots. There was like a scene where she was crawling through some like wheat or something like that. It was just really tall grass, but the way the camera shot and the way that it looked in the background, it just looks so cool. They got a lot of really awesome like shots like that mixed into this movie that really, you know, doesn't necessarily need it, but it puts that extra sheen on it to give it that sort of big budgety feel, even though it is an indie. The acting, I would say, is all pretty damn good in this. I mean, there's a smaller cast. I don't want to spoil how many people are in it, Just know that there's not that many people in it, but you don't necessarily need a large cast to do something really good with a movie. As long as you have a vision, you have an understanding of the characters and what they're going to be put through, and make it as realistic as possible, which I think for the most part, this movie does adhere to. I don't think there's really any moment in the film where I was just like, really though? Although there was one moment at the very end that was, I didn't really care because it was just awesome. But when you get to the end, you'll see there's a couple of things that are talked about between the characters that end up in a situation that is pretty awesome. And that's some of the reason why I like films like this. So this film has kind of like a similar tropey feel, but does something, it has a little bit more of a oomph to it, a little bit more style to it in some situations, but enough to make it kind of its own thing. But, you know, I didn't get blown away by this, but it was definitely a good thriller that I think most people would enjoy to watch on this afternoon or this evening. It is a fairly decent price too. I think it's like $3 to rent. So what are you waiting for? It has a fair amount of blood, a fair amount of harrowing tales, and some levity moments that I think really add to the movie to kind of make you feel like you're enjoying a film. You know, and to give you a little bit of breath of air. I would say this is probably a 7. I'm leaning about a 7.5 on this one. It's really close there. Definitely an easy watch, definitely worth checking out. And I'm going to keep an eye out for James Villeneuve. Check out what they're going to be doing in the future, because I think it's a pretty good combination. I think Vicious Fun was a little bit more, you know, wordy and like fun wordplay with that movie in particular. But I think this one is more kind of focused on the vibe and the feeling. So they're very different films in that regard, but I think both are written in the way that they're supposed to. Vicious Fun was definitely supposed to have a lot of like punchy dialogue, while this one's really kind of about sticking to what's good for a thriller film, and I think did well for this as well. But it's not overdoing it, you know, in this film. Not flexing the writing skills, so to speak, other than the situations they get themselves into. But yeah, I think if you're looking for something to check out, you like thrillers with a little bit of blood, punchy kick-ass action in it, where you watch the protagonist become this person that they're meant to be in this moment, I think this is a good one to watch. I did get this as a screener, so thank you guys for allowing me to check this out. It's available everywhere on TVOD, which I guess means on just digital everywhere. I didn't know there was a T involved. There's apparently PVOD and TVOD. It gets really complicated. Just know it's out on digital for you guys. Is this a movie that you think you would like to check out? Do you like thrillers? I mean, I know a lot of horror fans, and we like a lot of adjacent stuff. It's always funny to me when people are like, well, that's not horror. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like it definitely is something that you guys would be interested in. And that's why I try to reach outside the box for you guys a little bit to kind of give you some variation. You know, we have so many different types of movies that are, you know, appealing to our demographic. So have you heard of this movie, Pins and Needles? This is one that might have snuck by you. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Thanks again for the screener, guys. And as always, remember, there is a monster somewhere out there, and it may be under the bed. It could be in the attic. Could be in your basement, but stay safe, folks. And as always, long live the void.